This is Trigger Point, episode 8. My name's Serena, and sitting across from me is, well, nobody at the moment. As mentioned in our previous episode, our recording went a little too long, so we've had to split the audio into multiple episodes. We originally thought that we could get this done in 2 episodes, but we got a little bit too enthusiastic about Beauty and the Beast, and so we had to split that into its own episode for next month. So this month would be about Book of Mormon, and it'll be a slightly shorter episode. But I promise you that we'll make up for it when we start talking about Beauty and the Beast in June. Yeah. So to keep this intro short, here's part 2. So one of the other musicals we've watched.
Yeah, we seem to be watching a lot of musicals lately. The next 2 hours of musicals.
Yeah.
But
Book
yeah.
of Mormon. Okay, we're going to talk about with Book of Mormon.
We bought the tickets for Book of Mormon a long time ago.
Yes.
Way before it came to Melbourne.
We bought it a year ago. Yeah. Over a year ago.
In contrast to Kinky Boots, which we knew nothing about, at least with Book of Mormon, we know certain things about it. Like,
yes,
I knew that it was a Tony Award winning musical.
We knew it was making fun of Mormons in a way.
Yeah. Look, and that's the difference. I think with Kinky Boots, the title doesn't tell you anything. Book of Mormon, you kind of know what it's about, and we also know that it was written by the people who wrote South Park.
Yes.
So going into this, there was arguably a lot more expectations from it. Not for me. I actually didn't expect too much of it because I like South Park, but I wasn't a big fan of it per se. I also sometimes have an issue with parody shows when they're making fun of certain things. I don't know how well I'll take it sometimes.
Right.
So I didn't go in with a huge expectation.
Sure.
But I was expecting it to be funny.
Okay.
So I was expecting it to be a very funny comedic show. That was my expectation.
Okay. Whereas I only knew about the Book of Mormon because I watched the Tony Awards because I love Neil Patrick Harris, and I watched every single one of the Tony Awards where he was hosting. And in one of them, they had the opening song for Book of Mormon in there, like the song Hello. And I loved that song, right? And it was after hearing that song that I found out that all those other things about the show, right, that was made by the people who made South Park and all that stuff. Now, I don't like South Park. I never really watched it. Their kind of humor was not something... like bodily fluid humor is not something I appreciate. But when I heard that song, when I saw the premise, I thought that song was what the rest of the show would be like. That kind of humor, I'm okay with. Taking a hit, making fun of religion, I'm fine with that. And it wasn't stupid funny. Like the lyrics in that song was very well done.
Yeah.
Like there was a part where you have all these. The song "Hello" was all these Mormon, ringing doorbells trying to sell their religion, and there was this one part where one of the characters like, "Oh, you're not interested? Okay, see you in hell." And the other character's like, "Hey, now, don't do that. That's not what you're supposed to do." But it was funny for me because I do know some religious people. Like I have some friends who are religious who do believe that if you don't believe in their religion, you will go to hell, right? And I can imagine why, if you reject their religion, why they would say, okay, fine, don't believe me then. I'll see you in hell.
Yeah.
I find that kind of funny. And I also like how they made fun of the fact that they say, when they say hello, there was one part where they actually stretched out the hello.
Yeah.
So you thought that they were talking about hell. And it was, I liked that.
Yeah.
And I thought the rest of the show was like that.
Yeah, in that vein.
Yeah. So I was looking forward to it. I had high expectations of it from that song because I thought, okay, it doesn't matter if it's made by the people who made South Park. If they were able to write this song, perhaps this show would would be a step above South Park, at least with humor-wise. And I do remember watching a little bit of South Park where they did make fun of Mormons, and where they made that song about how Mormon as a religion is how it came to be. So I thought it was just an extension of that.
So what did you find about the show?
Because of my expectations, because of the fact it was a Tony Award-winning show. The last Tony Award-winning show I watched was Once, and I really liked Once. The music, not so much because it's not of the type of music that I like, but I still enjoyed it. So when I watched this, I found that I thought that to win a Tony, not only does the music have to be good, not only does the acting have to be good, and the costume have to be good, the storyline should also be good. And unfortunately, the musicals were good. Some of them were funny. I really like Hello. I still love Hello here. Some of the ones like, was it Me and You? But more me, but mostly me. But mostly me was funny.
Yeah.
But some of the more serious songs.
Yeah.
When I was watching this, the storyline was forgettable because I already knew what the ending would be like, right? When you have people lying about, okay, sorry, the ending did not end the way I thought it would end.
Yeah.
In the sense that I thought that the character who lied the whole way through would get his one-uppers. Like, he would get his punishment. In this show, they pretty much said, it doesn't matter if you lie as long as you do it with good intentions, in a way. And the person who lied was also the character who was kind of clueless and kind of idiotic in a way. And this show seems to prove that line of God protects children and fools, because he was the fool and he just coasted through the show. So that was the thing that I wasn't able to guess. But apart from that, I wasn't interested in any of the characters. I didn't care how they'll end up. I don't care about any growth that they'll have, because in a way it's kind of like Seinfeld. Like, you can expect that no matter how terrible they are as people or how good they are as people, they'll end up where they started in a way. So when you had serious songs about these characters singing about their dreams and hopes, when you have this poor African woman who felt that these people who telling her about this new religion will be taking her to
Salt Lake
City for paradise, when she's singing that song, I don't care, because I think she's a fool.
Yep.
Right? Like, she was lied to. She thinks this is going to happen, and I can't see any good coming from this. So I'm like, okay, if I take this seriously, I'm going to feel sad, right? Because nothing's good going to happen. If I don't take this seriously, then this song is boring.
Yeah.
Move it along, and I want to see the next funny bit. So in that sense, I was really disappointed by the show, because I'm like, I don't really care about what you're saying. Like, the songs that are serious, I don't care.
Yeah.
When you're having a dialogue, it's just this person lying, and I'm just waiting for the moment where he gets found out. The only things I care about was the funny songs, and there weren't enough of those.
Well, I think, I totally agree with that part. Like, as I said, I didn't watch this show with a huge expectation, but I did expect it to be very funny. And I kind of felt that it didn't even do that very well. Like, sure, it had funny bits in it.
Yeah.
It had funny parts in it, but it wasn't as if... It had no more funny bits than I would say, like, Kinky Boots had funny bits in it as well. Like, in contrast to, a musical that had funny elements...
Yeah.
I was expecting this to be a comedy,
Yep.
but with musical elements.
Yep.
But it didn't do that.
No.
It was more a musical with comedic elements, but then it kind of failed.
Most musicals have comedic elements.
But then it failed as a musical to begin with.
Yes.
Because it doesn't, like, the story was, as you said, forgettable.
Yeah.
It was funny how they kind of explained that, yes, all religion at the end of the day is,
a lie.
a lie. Well...
As long as it gives you hope, it's a good lie.
Yeah, and I'm not sure how I feel about that. I'm not a religious person to begin with, but even I felt like, I don't know how other people who are religious would see that. And yeah, like, I just felt like if it was going to be a comedy, then it needed to be more funny. Like, especially since I was expecting. I was talking to Serena's fiance in the middle of the show. Like, I was like, okay, end of the first act. We're like, okay, it's now got the premises there. We're gonna work with this premise. Both of us were thinking, okay, now it's gonna go ape shit.
Yeah, now it's gonna
go South
take
Park
the piss of everything.
And it didn't. It kind of just coasted along as how the first act did as well. And so I kind of felt like it didn't do enough. Like, if it was going to be a show that was going to kind of, taking the piss out of everything, then it needed to do it over the top. So much to the fact that you can't take it seriously. And therefore it was funny.
But I think one of the reasons is because of the setting. So supposedly these two Mormon boys, because they were boys, right? They
were 19.
Yeah. They went 35-year-old, 19-year-olds.
Yeah.
They went to Africa to try to convert people. I think the setting was a bit too serious.
Yeah.
Like when you have warlords shooting people in the head, when you have warlords cutting women's private parts. I think there's a line that you can't really cross, and I think that's the thing. They didn't cross it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? They put the setting there, and they're like, oh, it would be really funny if we made it so that we made fun of all this stuff.
Yes.
But then I think while they were writing it, they realized, no, we shouldn't.
But then I felt like because South Park did that, and that's why I was expecting it to do that. Like, because South Park did cross those lines, and they didn't give a shit about it.
But you see, I don't think South Park needed the investment.
No,
right?
No.
And probably some of the investors pulled it. Who knows? I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, we don't know.
But they didn't cross the line.
Yeah.
They do mention, like, they did kind of make light of the whole cutting women's private parts and all that kind of stuff in a song that was inside the show. Yeah. Right. But
it wasn't enough, I reckon, to kind of make you to make me kind of pull out and just see it as like a comedy. Like, because I always felt that there was this underlying truth to all of this, and it kind of felt uncomfortable.
Yeah, because when they were saying how one of the guys, he was going to rape babies because they believe that you need to sleep if you have AIDS.
Yeah,
you had to sleep with a virgin to get rid of AIDS.
Yeah.
And because they ran out of virgins, they are now turning to babies.
Yeah.
That was shock value, a little funny, but then you kind of realize, wait, this is actually kind of real.
Yeah.
And they didn't go so far overboard that you forget that.
Yeah.
They because they hedged it. They kind of like towed the line.
Yeah.
So you kind of realize they were towing the line, and then you can't help but being reminded during the whole show, this is real. How are they going to solve this?
Yeah.
Right? Because this is a real issue, and these two Mormon guys can't possibly
solve it.
And in the end, they don't, right?
No.
It's like they give them hope to face these situations.
Yeah.
I mean, the only funny song, like, the song that I liked, apart from Hello, in this show, was the one where you had the whole African village singing about how they, life sucks, but so all you can do is sing a certain phrase. And you have the whole village singing a certain phrase, and you kind of know this is coming. The two Mormon boys were singing along, happy as they were, and then they kind of realized, wait, what does the phrase mean? And you realize that the whole village was pretty much telling God to go F off.
Yeah.
And that was pretty much as close to crossing the line as the show really kind of got.
Yeah.
Right? Like, to be offensive, they kind of like, oh yeah, this is offensive. Telling God to F off is offensive.
I think that's why I kind of felt disappointed in the show in the sense that if it was trying to be offensive, it didn't go offensive enough.
Yep.
If it was trying to be, just a normal show, it also failed as a normal musical show because the story was incoherent. The
music was only so-so.
In saying that, I had a lot of issue when I first watched the show because I had this inkling that none of the music seems to flow. I felt like the music was really disjointed, as in each song was in its own. Like each song was...
There's no elements that kind of flow through every single song.
So like in general musicals, you can always hear, if it's written by the same composer, and usually it is, you can hear the train of thought, and you can hear motifs that kind of runs throughout the show. And this is why I like musicals. I like hearing that that kind of bridging music that kind of ties the whole show together. I like those. And there was none of that in here. So I felt slightly disappointed in that. Now, in hindsight, when I read about it, I realized that what the composer tried to do was that every song in the show was actually a parody of a different show.
Yeah.
Which made a lot of sense because it is kind of
the whole show was a parody.
The whole show was a parody. And so, for example, the song You and Me, but mostly Me, was a kind of a rip-off of The Wizard and I and Defying Gravity in Wicked.
Wicked, yeah. Mm-hmm.
So it had, and when I listened to it, I could hear it. I can hear that music. I can hear that particular song in this song, and it worked really well because for that particular instance, that's where it would have worked in this show.
Yeah.
And so I thought, oh, that's actually really clever of doing it.
Yeah.
In saying that, though, I'm not quite sure how much I should read upon these things before I can enjoy a show.
Yeah, like if we both went in without reading too much about Book of Mormons before watching Book of Mormons, and therefore we didn't know this. Yeah. Is it fair for the showrunners or the creator to expect people to have read about it or to know this going in, to say, hey, this is clever, that's why this song sounds like this, or why this is the way it is? Because if it doesn't stand by itself, then how...
Like, sure, you can always say, okay, metadata should be something that enhances your experience and makes something even better than what it is.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, the original product is what's shown to us, right? That's what's given to me on face value. How much... if I can't appreciate it
by itself,
unless I have these other information, then is it still a good product? I don't really feel that that's the case. I don't think it's fair on me to have to do all these research and information before I can enjoy. Oh, that's a really clever way. I give the other example. For example, in Wicked. Every song in Wicked I love. And the music was brilliant in Wicked. In saying that, I realized that in one of the bridges in Wicked was actually a direct ripoff of Somewhere Over the Rainbow. The first 7... I don't know if you realized.
No, I didn't know.
In Wicked, when Alphabet goes, unlimited...
Yes.
Da, 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 that 7 notes is Somewhere Over the Rainbow. Somewhere over the... And then it changes because 7 notes is the maximum you can copy before it infringes copyright.
Okay, yep.
So Stephen Schwartz very cleverly used that in the bridge.
Right.
Okay. But as a standalone song, it was still a brilliant song.
Yes.
It's just that now that I'd realized that 7 notes was a direct ripoff of Somewhere Over the Rainbow in respects to Wizard of Oz, it just made it that much better.
Yes.
That's what I would say is a good use of metadata, in the sense that this original product was brilliant.
Yep.
Now that I knew something more about it, it made it even better.
Yes.
Whereas I feel in Book of Mormon,
if I didn't know that
information, it wouldn't have been that great of a
song to
begin with. And I think that's the issue I have. So, I enjoyed some of the songs in the show. Some of the show was funny.
Yeah. I think if they didn't win the Tonys, if I didn't go in thinking, oh, this is a Tony award-winning show, if it wasn't touted as such, if I didn't buy the ticket a year in advance because everyone was buying the tickets, right? Like, I have a feeling, I was wondering if I didn't know all this, if I bought the ticket a week beforehand, I probably would have enjoyed the show a lot more. But at the same time, if I didn't buy the ticket a year in advance, I might not have gotten a seat. So all this hype, I think, was not to the benefit of the show.
I guess in saying that the
didn't
the
we
other,
Google?
Yeah, the other shows that it was in contention with that year wasn't particularly strong though.
Yeah.
Although look, the other show that it was in contention was Catch Me If You Can, and I actually really liked.
I haven't
show.
seen that yet. No.
It's not a show that most people. It's not a very well liked show in a sense that the critics wasn't particularly favorable to it. But I felt that it was a much better show overall. Here's
the thing, right? Book of Mormon is a very American show, right?
Yeah.
Because Mormons is a very American religion.
Yeah.
The whole premise of it is that the Christianity had a third part, and it was based in America.
Yeah.
And I could see how for Americans that would be more relevant, and that might be why they won Tonys as well. Like, oh, they're being offensive to a religion that is pretty, popular in the country. Maybe it's kind of like Hamilton, right? I am hearing a lot of things about Hamilton.
Yeah.
I mean, I like the music in Hamilton.
I've brought the CD. I haven't listened to it.
Okay. And when I go to America in a couple of months, I don't know whether I want to go watch it or not.
Really? Totally go watch it.
But
have to go watch it.
I will. Okay. Here's the thing. I want to watch it, but I don't know whether I want to watch it before I've read American history.
Oh, right.
Because I know nothing about any of the things that goes on in the show.
Yeah.
And again, it's one of those situations, it's so hyped up, but it's so hyped up by an American audience because this is written for an American audience. Yeah. So if I go there with this expectation of, my God, this is an award-winning show that won so many awards. Oh my God, I'm going to go and really, and then I go and sit in there and I have no idea who these people are. I don't know what the events are. Like, if they don't explain it enough in the show for people who are not Americans, am I going to just sit there with a question mark? Am I going to watch this like Les Mis? Not saying that Les Mis was not a good show. It's just I didn't really care about the revolution that they were talking about. Not to mention it wasn't really one of the big revolutions anyway. But is it going to be one of those situations where it was hyped up? That's why it won, right? Because of the topic, because of the premise, as opposed to whether it was a good show or not. It was, oh my God, it's about Mormons, and oh my God, this is about the Hamilton.
Yeah.
Whereas I've never heard of Hamilton prior to the show.
Yeah.
Right. So I don't know whether I want to go and watch it because I don't want to be disappointed.
Right.
Right. So,
but in that respect, isn't that a better judgment then? Because I'm not you're not going to it with this knowledge,
rose-colored glasses.
Yeah, because I feel like sometimes a lot of shows are given props or nods just because of, as you said, the topic that they're touching upon, or similar. Whereas as a standalone show, does it still stand up to the expectation of a brilliant show?
Yeah.
And look, Kinky Boots also won Best Musical for, I can't remember which year, but it won Best Musical. And I can totally see that because after having known nothing about it and watching, I said, yeah, definitely. This is definitely an award-winning musical.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's a better judgment of it. Would that be a better judgment of it? Do you think do you feel it should be necessary to...
No. Okay, I understand what you're saying, and yes, it would be good to go and watch it without any of this baggage, without any of these preconceptions and knowledge of the history and all that stuff. What I'm saying here is, if I'm going to go to New York and I can only watch one musical, do I want to go and watch a musical where I'm going to be critical about and seeing the truth of whether this show is worth winning the Tony Awards, or whether I should go and watch, I don't know, Phantom again, because I haven't watched Phantom. I don't know what the Phantom is showing, but I haven't watched Phantom since I was 15, right? And when I was 15, I really loved the show and I want to watch it again. And if it's available in New York, why would I not want to watch that?
Yeah.
Right? I'll just wait for Hamilton to come to Melbourne, right? Because it doesn't matter by that point whether I see the original, because... You know, if it's good, it's going to still be good when it gets here.
Yeah.
If it's not good, then when it gets here, it's still not going to be good, and I'll get to watch it with you, and we go both bag it when we see it.
We don't always bag stuff.
No, not always. Just sometimes.
We talk about good stuff as well.
Yeah, I mean, we just talked about Kinky Boots. But, you know, that's what I meant. Like, if I'm going to New York, you know. So that's what I mean. But in saying that, I really should start looking online.
Yeah, let's just see what shows are available. You know?
With 2 months left, I don't think there's much seats available for some of these shows.
Yeah. But, so I felt like me personally, knowing that this musical was also in contention with Catch Me If You Can, I much prefer Catch Me If You Can. I like the music a lot better. I like the storyline a lot better. Well, then again, we all know the storyline of Catch Me If You Can, but I felt it was a better show overall. It was a better musical overall. I think the part where that fell down was that Book of Mormons was probably more... it was more for an audience that doesn't watch musicals.
Yeah. I can see
for people who don't like musicals, they can still enjoy Book of Mormons for its fun factor.
Yep.
Whereas, like, you know, show like Catch Me If You Can is for musical theatre people that likes musical theatre, and they will enjoy that show a lot more. So for me, as I say, I like Catch Me If You Can a lot more.
Here's a question for Catch Me If You Can. Because recently I've been watching some musicals, like, not Kinky Boots, what am I thinking about? Like The King and I, or Aladdin, or, what's the one with the umbrella again?
Mary Poppins?
Yeah, Mary Poppins, thank you. I've already watched the movie, I already know the story, and now I go and watch the musical, Broadway, and I find with all of them, there are moments where I already know what's going to happen next. Can we move it along?
Yeah.
Right. There's.
I think there's the difference though is with some of those like Aladdin, like The King and I, like Mary Poppins. The song was already in the original show in the movie. Mm-hmm. Catch Me If You Can was a movie. Right. This is now a musical. Every song is different. Every song is a new song. Like everything in it was specifically made for this show.
Right.
And because of that, I don't have that issue.
Okay.
And they do kind of change the story slightly.
Okay.
To the point, well, not to the point where it changes the story, but it makes it more. It makes it a little more musical.
Was it a book?
Huh?
Was Catch Me If You Can a book?
I think it was just based on the real life of that con man.
Yeah. Okay.
So I love the musical show.
Right.
So yeah.
Okay.
So I don't have that issue because unlike some shows where I already know the songs, I don't know the songs of this show. Right. I can kind of enjoy it. I don't have that feeling like, okay, I know about this. I know what's going to happen. Let's move on. Like the story, I still know what's going to happen, but how they tell it is then slightly different to how the movie was done.
Yeah.
So in that way, it was good. Final thing about Book of Mormons I want to say is I really, really hated the Elder Price in the Melbourne version of the show. Could not stand the guy. His voice was whiny and nasally. I felt uncomfortable every time he sang. And this was so noticeable that it detracted so much from the music. For me, anyway. The reason I say this is because having listened to the original recording now, I love the song You and Me, but Mostly Me. I love that song. It's funny. It takes the piss. It's also based on Defying Gravity, which I love in the first place. So everything was going through it, and the original recording, the guy who sings this was brilliant. He sounds so comfortable in the setting. Our Elder Price just detracted all of that from me. I could not hear the song because I'm constantly focused on his voice and like, you're not really reaching that note. Can you please stop? Like, I felt every time he reaches those notes, I'm like, you're like squealing and screaming and it's just not comfortable. And I don't care if this song is good. I just can't listen to it. And I had a big issue with that. On the flip side, I love Elder Cunningham in our production. I felt I liked his portrayal of it rather than the original recording.
Okay.
Josh Gad, which was the original Elder Cunningham, I thought he was too... I don't know how to say it. I just didn't like his portrayal of it. I liked... In the Australian production, he was not the fat kid that kind of everyone did like. He was just a kind of like a...
nerdy, a bit too over-enthusiastic.
Yeah. I liked his portrayal of it, and I liked his voice a lot better. So it was funny, just like in like compared to the original recording where I loved Elder Price and hated Elder Cunningham in the Australian production, it's the opposite. But yeah.
So, in other words, even if they made an Australian recording of this, you wouldn't like it?
No.
And you listen to American recording, you still don't like it? Because...
I know, right? It's like, if I can help it, I would like swap certain parts of like the show to make one that I love to like.
Mix and match your cast.
Because it was really jarring. Like, no, to be fair though, I would always take the original recording over the Australian one though.
For this show.
Just because I can't stand the Australian Elder Price.
Oh God. Okay.
It got to the point where like every time he opened his mouth, I was like ready to like cover my ears.
Oh wow.
Like I could not stand him.
In that sense,
was it just me? Was it just me? Like
I don't actually remember hating his voice because I don't remember much of the show. It was really like okay. Like every time they sang, it was like, okay, waiting for the next funny bit. And then the funny bit was over and like, yeah, it was kind of funny. Oh, now we have another song. And some songs were funny. Some songs were way too much like, hope, grand hopes, my dreams. This is what's going to come up next. My dream. You know, it was there was a lot of like, it was like all those compilations of all those movies or musicals where you have the character singing, like The Little Mermaid and how she's singing about how she wishes that she was on land. Like every single song was one of them singing about what they want to happen. Oh, the only song that didn't happen like that was that Switch Your Emotion Off song. I really enjoyed that one. But it was also very disturbing because they were talking about the situations in which they were switching off their emotions and it was just wrong. It was one of those moments where it's like, oh yeah, you're kind of reaching that line, you're towing that line.
Yeah. But again, they didn't quite go far enough with it either.
No, they didn't. It was... yeah.
Again, that's the problem. If they went overboard, it probably wouldn't have jarred us as much.
Yes.
Because then we can just take the piss out of it. But because it kind of didn't go all the way, we kind of go like, oh, that was funny and disturbing.
Yeah, and I think that was one of their thing too, is like, we want to let you know just how disturbing these situations are. So therefore, we're not going to take a full piss out of it. I think it was one of their aim, right? To make you feel uncomfortable. And because of that, the show didn't end up being as funny as it was. Yeah. It just became uncomfortable.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Look, Book of Mormons, not a show that I would recommend to people, unless I know that they enjoyed that type of thing. It definitely wasn't what well, then again, I wasn't expecting much of it, so...
I don't know whether I want to put a price on it, but it would be... If the show is going to be costing you $120, I wouldn't recommend you going watching it. If you can get a seat for $50, Yeah, right. It's an entertaining night out.
Yeah,
I guess.
Yeah.
You know? But apart from I would recommend so many other shows.
Yeah,
than
like
this one.
it's just that if you want to watch like funny shows, there's like better shows that does comedy better. If you want to watch a musical, then
there's so many more.
So many musical that actually is a musical that would also be better than this. So for me, it just didn't quite work.
Yeah, when you were saying how this is a show that was good for people who don't watch musicals or don't like musicals, I don't know whether I want to recommend people. I don't know whether I want to recommend this show as the first musical for people to watch.
Yeah, that is also true because that's not what musicals are like.